couple of sessions, we're still on track 2. In case there's some confusion, there were some mislabeled boards outside at one point or another. But we're still track 2, and so we're getting ready to start our 12 o'clock session. And joining us is David Zakariaie, who's with Glassic. And Glassic basically does the development of the Google Glass technology, the wearable technology with Google. He's got some real insights into how this is going to work in the future, what they're doing, and how this should have a dramatic impact on the way that we do research and other things. Join me in welcoming him to the discussion.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Alrighty. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is David Zakariaie. I'm the CEO of a company called Glassic. We're based in California. We work alongside Google and other wearable companies to design software platforms and business platforms on top of wearables for the business world. And today I'm going to talk to you about our platform for market research. So I'm going to tell you who I am, who Glassic is, what we do. I'll discuss Google Glass itself, and with a show of hands, who here has tried Google Glass on before? Okay, a little less than half of you. So we have a booth over here. The sole, not to sell you anything, the sole purpose is that you can try on Google Glass and experience it, so please come by and do that. So I'll talk to you about Google Glass, what it is, and what it isn't, and then we'll discuss what it can do for market research. So who am I? So like I said, my name is David. I run a company called Glassic. I've been a Google Glass a pioneer for about 3 years now. And I also happily drive the car with the Google Glass license plates on them. So what is Glass? Well, we'll talk about that. And so what is Glassic? Like I said, we design all sorts of business platforms for glass. The main industries we're in right now is medical, aviation, defense, and now market research. So very quickly, what is Google Glass? There's all sorts of names and phrases associated with it. Some people call it a wearable computer, others call it a hands-free smartphone. What Google Glass is ultimately about is technology when you need it. We all love what technology does for us, but it's a bummer when it gets in the way of our everyday lives. And that's the problem that Google Glass is trying to solve. Google Glass is very strong and light. It features a solid titanium band. And it features all the components that you would find in a modern smartphone paired with a heads-up display. And the heads-up display is a very simple prism with a projector reflecting into it. This is the home screen of Google Glass. From there it shows a time and says, OK, Glass, and you can activate a world of commands. You can say, you can say take a picture to take a picture. Record what you see hands-free, even share what you see live through Google Hangouts. Directions appear right in front of you, and you can speak to send a message or an email. You can ask whatever is on your mind and translate your voice and images to over 100 languages. As well, it even gives you answers based on locations without you having to ask. So the first thing we get to is why, and I like to explain the reasoning behind Google Glass, because once you understand what its purpose is, it makes very much sense why this device exists. So there's a few reasons. The first is connections and communications, and what do I mean by that? If you look at this picture of this child, okay, her mother is interacting with her, and she's able to take a photo of her without some big, bulky thing in between them. A child doesn't smile for a camera. A child doesn't smile for devices, she smiles for faces. And this is a great example of how Google Glass allows us to connect with the world, to connect with the virtual world naturally. So all this technology was taken and jam-packed into a single wearable device, and it's very hands-free and very light. It weighs less than most designers' sunglasses. It features a very scalable design and can be attached to all sorts of sunglasses, shades, and prescription lenses. The next is rapid information access, and while Google Glass is not yet there, the eventual goal is to give you knowledge before you even know you need it. So how do we seek knowledge these days? We usually start off with a question. We go to Yahoo or Bing or one of these websites. We type in the question, we get the answer. The eventual goal is based on what you're doing and how you're interacting with the world. It will provide you with the knowledge you need before you even need it. And the next is a blank slate. And what do I mean by that? And I've been sitting in a lot of talks in market research conferences for the past few months. And it seems that a lot of people are talking about how the market research world needs to innovate more and get onto mobile and do a lot of cool things with mobile. But perhaps the problem is the fact that mobile hasn't been taken far enough. And that's what we mean by Google Glass being a blank slate. If you look at the phones that came before the iPhone and compare them with the iPhone, the feature set was exactly the same. The only difference was it took a multi-million-dollar multi-touch technology and it put it in the palm of our hands. So there was nothing new feature-wise, but it was a new way to interact. And that's exactly what Google Glass is. It's a new window of opportunity, a new way to create experiences to interacting with the virtual world. So Google Glass meets market research. Here's the fun stuff now. And before I begin, I want to show you this excerpt from a market research handbook that was written before Google Glass came out. It basically says that if there was a device that had a pupillometric camera, a camera that can show you what the person is seeing, and the ability to make careful and detailed observations that could not be made otherwise, that's the perfect thing for market research. And that's exactly what Google Glass can do. Okay, so we followed these above 3 steps to kind of create our market research solution. We enhanced the process of collecting data, we developed the methods to analyze the data, and then I'll give you the tools to improve sales based off of that. And I'm going to focus on data collection today. So our business model is pretty simple. We pick an industry, we try to find what we think is the largest problem in it, and then we attempt to solve it. Very Google moonshot thinking. So within market research, the problem that we found was the conscious state of mind. There's mystery shoppers, there's surveys, there's all these great ways to do market research. But the problem is the participant knows they're in a market research study, and they know when and what type of data is being collected on them and what's being analyzed. So in its natural behavior for us to give different answers or change our behavior based on the fact that we know someone is watching us. So we set out to create a solution that can capture this subconscious data. And the first step of that is the Google Glass itself, and then our software behind it. So Google Glass, as many of you probably know, can be a great tool for market research. It can capture things that would be missed. It's in the moment, it's seamless, it's not in the way, it doesn't distract. Sounds like the perfect camera for market research, right? Wrong. Because it's just a video camera. There's nothing, we don't need another video camera. What we need is something that can deliver insights at a very low price, and insights that cannot be delivered before, but are 5 or 10 times more powerful than what we have today. And that's what we're doing. So through our software, we're able to capture the following 5 types of data from Google Glass. We have a camera that is facing outwards, and it shows us the entire line of sight. We have a camera that is facing the eye that we can use for retina tracking and eye tracking. We've been testing it against the Tobii Glass. It is just as accurate, but is 1/75th the cost. So for the price of one Tobii Glass, you can get 75 of our glasses. As well, we are able to measure brain waves, as well as the electromagnetic fields and galvanized data that is coming from the surface of the skin. And we're able to use that for very accurate emotion tracking. And I'll explain that next. But so in real time, we're running all this data through our artificial intelligence platform, and we're able to tell you the following 5 things. We're able to tell you what a person is doing. We're able to tell you how the person is doing it. We can tell you why the person is doing it and what the person is feeling while they're doing it. Just to touch up quickly on, as far as emotions go, we will literally just show you a bar graph for a list of 26 emotions, happy, sad, excited, and we'll show you the level of each one. So while the technology is complicated, the interface to show you the results is not. And we found a few different places where we can use this. So the first is retail market research. If a consumer is wearing this and walking through a store, and when a consumer is wearing this, it operates like a normal Google Glass. Take a picture, record a video, surf the web. The market research is taking place all on the back end, And the consensual forms that we have the consumers sign allow us to collect this data, but because nothing is being saved and it's being analyzed in real time, we don't have to disclose what is being saved. We don't have to disclose what type of data we're analyzing and when throughout the process we're analyzing it, and it still complies with the SOMAR standards. So if a person is wearing it and walking through a store, if they're comparing two products, we can tell you why they picked one over another. Is it because the packaging was more exciting on this one, or was it because there were less calories on this one? And we could take it so far as if they pick a product and when they're going to check out, they end up taking the product out of their cart, but we can tell you exactly why they made that decision. We can do advertising effectiveness. So very simply, if you want to show them a website, a picture, a banner, or really any type of stimulus, we can tell you, is it in their line of sight? Are they simply glancing at it? Are they concentrated in it? As well as we can tell you emotions. So when they saw the advertisement for Coke, were they excited? Or when they saw the advertisement for Pepsi, were they disgusted? I'm trying to get the Coke as a client, so I'm trying to give them some. And then the next is interactive surveys. So traditionally, if you go buy a coffee machine today, there's probably a postcard-sized piece of paper sitting in the box. It asks you 5 to 6 questions. Most of the time, no one bothers to fill it out. If you're like me, you fill it out, but you lie, just to mess with whoever has to read this postcard. And the problem is, A, it's not accurate. Not that many people fill it out, and you're not really getting that much information. So what we set out to do with Google Glass is build an interactive survey. So for a period of 1 to 2 weeks with the consumer wearing Google Glass, every time they are interacting with the coffee machine and using it, we were able to learn how the person is using the machine, what's used the most, is there certain functions that they want to use it for that aren't there, and at the end of 2 weeks, we'll ask 1 to 2 questions on the glass based on how that consumer is using the glass. Is using the coffee machine. So if for example, it was saying that they wanted to use this company's cups for the K-cups, but this machine wasn't compatible with it. Even very simple things like that it can record, or it can see if a person wanted to make 30 cups of coffee in a K-cup machine at a time, but it kept it can even see if it kept slowing them down because it had to rest before each coffee making. And that's pretty much the end of the market research component. I just want to say one final little thing about Google Glass and everything about it. If anyone has Googled yes, that's John F. Kennedy. If anyone has researched Google Glass at all in the past, you're probably very familiar with all the bad press that's behind it, and all these things of it does facial recognition and it violates your privacy and this and that. Google Glass was not created to create any of these problems, and it most certainly most certainly is not the intention for us to worry about these problems. So one thing we ask is that when we're working with clients and doing this and that, the philosophy that we follow is to ignore all of this. The social problems, the political problems, and the privacy problems, the lawyers and the government can solve them themselves. So we just want to really focus on the technology and make it happen. And that just goes back to the moonshot philosophy that we have at Google. And that's the end of my presentation with 5 minutes to spare.
Thank you, David, so much. Do we have questions? One over here. Hold on.
Hi, how's it going, Nick? We were wondering, at Navy Federal, we do a lot of focus groups, and we were wondering, in that setting, talking about reading unconscious, data from members, they would be unaware that you are using Google Glasses in that scenario. Would it be appropriate in that space to use Google Glass for focus groups?
Yeah, we can most certainly use it in a. Well, are you talking about the person that is conducting the focus group wearing it? We can most certainly do that. The fact that a lot of the data we're getting is from the brainwaves as well as the electromagnetic fields, it's almost as accurate as if you had them in CAT scan machine. So even if they're consciously changing their behavior, we can figure out what the original behavior is that they are changing. So we can most certainly use it in the focus groups, and those were our 3 situations that we came up with that we can use it for. It can certainly be adjusted to be used in any scenario.
Another question over here.
2 quick ones. The first one is, how do you ignore lawyers? You don't have to answer that. The second one is, you mentioned measuring emotion as people are doing things. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah. So if you talk to Stanford and a lot of these top schools in the research labs, they'll tell you that the only accurate way to measure emotions is if you have multiple sources that validate themselves. And so we're doing 3 things. There's a camera within the Google Glass that is facing the eye and is monitoring the eye movements. And we found a link between the movement of the eye directly correlated with both the nervous system of the body as well as the hypothalamus. And that is one very accurate way to measure what nerve impulses are being sent out, as well as which hormones are being released. And that is when we track emotions. We use the electromagnetic fields that are being emitted from the surface of the skin as well as on the surface of the skin, and we are able to analyze what those fields are to get emotions, and that's the second very accurate way of getting emotions. And then we are measuring the raw brain waves, which is a third way that we are able to measure emotions, and the fact that all 3 of them are working together, they validate each other. So while one by itself could be 60–70% accurate, the 3 combined are 96–97% accurate. Yeah, so the Google Glass has the hardware. Most of the functionality that we're doing is where the artificial intelligence comes in, and it's our software. So the glass out of the box won't have that, won't be able to do what we're talking about, but it's just software that we install on them.
Fascinating stuff. Thank you very much, David. Let's give him our appreciation.